Good afternoon. Please join me on page 21. I'm sorry I can't be with you today. I have another math meeting, and I know we've missed several days here because of meetings and such, but um, we'll be back next time, and hopefully you guys can get some good stuff done today. All right, well, here we are. We're talking about measurement in section 1.2. So please follow along on page 21. You can jot this down as we do this together, all right? If things go a little fast, I'll post this in Canvas so you can kind of look back at it. But here we go. So this problem looks real familiar. You're probably saying, we've done this problem before. But the thing is, last time we ended up with some decimals, or we had some nice, neat number of spaces that made it easy for us. Here, we're going to take those decimals and we want to know exactly how far this is to the nearest 16th of an inch. So we're talking 16th of an inch here because that's what our tape measure has on it, right? Tape measure has 16th inches on it. So if we were going to build this fence and we wanted to space these boards apart, then we need to know what line on the tape measure we were going to use. Okay, so let's go about this problem the same kind of way we would before. We're going to get to decimals, and then we're going to have to convert our decimal back. All right, so maybe we'll start just for good practice, and because hopefully we're learning it's easier to leave these as a fraction. So our ultimate goal here is to calculate the space between each fence slat if the spaces are all equal. All right. So how many fence boards do we have? Again, these are posts on the side. So how many fence boards? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 boards. And how many gaps do we have? Hopefully you can see we have one gap on each end, so there's going to be 11 gaps. All right, that's going to be important. That's where our decimal number is going to come in. So let's start by figuring out the total boards. We've done this before. All right, so it's the total of width of all the boards. So we have 10 boards. And so 10 times 2 3/4. Now we've learned how to do this with fractions. So, it's pretty easy with fractions. Okay. Now, so let's go ahead and practice that. So we have 10 times the 2, that's 20. And 10 times the 3/4 is 30/4. Real handy way to do it. We need to clean this up a little bit. How many times does 4 go into 30? I think it goes in there 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. So we can get 7 4s out of here. That means this is 27. Get 7 holes. 7 times 4 is 28. And there's 2 left over because 30 minus 28 is 2/4, also known as a half. Okay, so there's some good practice with fractions. Now, again, we're going to need decimals. So if we needed to change this to a decimal, that's no problem. Okay, we're going to go to decimals here in just a moment. Let's see, actually, let's make that 27.5. So 27.5. Okay, so our total distance here from post to post is 46 5/8. So we're going to use that to find the total space, right? And again, this should be pretty familiar so far. Nothing terribly new, and you're probably wondering, why are we doing this again? You'll see. 46 5/8 minus 27.5. Again, if you need to go decimal, you can, but I think this is a little easier without. So 1/2 is how many eighths? Got to get a common denominator there. So we now have been working with our rulers, and so on our rulers, or our tape measures, we've seen that 1/2 is 4/8. Okay? So now we can subtract this. 5/8 minus 4/8, that's 1/8. And 46 minus 27, well, You can subtract this a lot of ways, all right? So think about this, little side note. How far is it from 27 up to 30? I think that's 3. And from 30 up to 46, that's 16. So how far is 46 from 27? It's 16 plus 3, which is 19. So 46 minus 27 is 19. That's one way to go. All right, lots of cool ways to subtract there. You could also say, we know that 47 minus 27 is 20. So this is almost, if this was 47, that'd be great. So it's almost 20, it's actually 19. Okay, so subtract those up, there we go. All right, well, our next step is where this gets tricky because we have 11 gaps. So far, everything is totally normal, totally what we expect. But we have 11 gaps there. So we have a problem. Because when we divide this by 11, it's going to be an ugly decimal. Okay? So let's go ahead and take that 19 and let's change that 1/8 to a decimal. Okay? Now, you might be familiar with what 1/8 is. So 1/8 is half of a quarter. So let's go 1 divided by 8. Half of a quarter is 0.125. All right. So let's go down here. We can write this as 19.125. So again, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we're going to have to go decimal at some point. Now we have 11 spaces here. So 11 spaces, if I stop moving my stuff around, here we go, 11 gaps. We have 11 gaps. So we got to figure out what are those 11 gaps worth. We actually just did 19 1/8. Okay, but we need to divide that by 11. All right, now 19.125. All right, let's go up here to our calculator. And we're going to take, and it's best on your calculator, by the way, hit enter, this little blue thing in the bottom right corner, and keep that stuff up above. Okay, you don't need to keep hitting clear. So we have 19.125, and we're going to divide that by 11. Okay, what we get is we get this big old ugly decimal. So it's 1.7386 approximately. Okay, so I'll write that down, 1.7386. Okay, so it's approximately, that little squiggly means approximately 1.7386, okay? Now, the question is, on our ruler, which mark is that? So we know that on our ruler we've got all these little spaces. The question is, which one of these spaces is closest to 1.7386, so on and so forth? Okay, so which one of the spaces? Now you might have a guess, but we want to find this kind of exactly there. All right. Okay, do you know what your guess is? Well, it's close to 0.75, right? So the question we're going to find out here is this closest to 0.75, which is 3/4, or maybe less than that, maybe 11/16. All right, so let's find out. So again, we're going to keep that going there. We're going to hit enter. So now watch what we do here. And you might want to follow along if you want to open up your Desmos calculator on the iPad there. Okay, we're going to take this 1 inch away. Now we're going to do this. We just want to deal with the decimal, but we don't want to retype it. Okay, it's important. Okay, we want to take the answer and we want to subtract off the 1. Okay, now that's much more accurate than just typing all these decimals. Plus, it's a lot easier. Enter. So hit this enter key here. Okay, there we go. Now, the question is, we want to know that's 0.7386. That's like 73%. So if we go 73% of the way from 1 to 2, where will we land? Well, somewhere over here. But which one of these marks? Is it on the 11th mark? Is it on the 12th mark? Which one of the marks is it? So what we're going to do is we're going to bring that answer back down. Okay. And now we want to know how many 16ths that is. So let's multiply that. Get this going times 16. So how many out of 16 is that? So what's that? That 0.73 times 16 is 11.8 spaces. So if I were to go 11 spaces, that would put me here, and 0.8 spaces, that would put me right about here. Not quite up to the 12th space, okay? So really accurate would be 11.8 spaces, but we just want to round to the nearest 16th to the nearest mark. So if we go 11 and 0.8 spaces, we're really close to the 12. So that's going to round to the 12, okay? So we round that to the nearest whole number, which is 12 spaces. All right, so this is equal to, and we have 1 whole inch still, right? And 12 sixteenths. Okay. Now we can actually want to clean that up. We can simplify 12 sixteenths. What goes into 12 and 16? I think 4 does. So we can divide by 4 on top and bottom. And this gives us 3. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 1 3/4 inches, all right? So now we know if you want to build this fence and you want the gaps to all be even, if you have these boards and these gaps and this 46 and 5/8 inch space, then each space here is going to need to be what we just found, 1 3/4 inches. If you do that carefully, starting at the beginning, you should end up with 1 3/4 inches at the end. All right, you got to be careful. It's real easy to get that off, but that's the idea. All right, so one space is 1 3/4 inch. So we'll leave it at that. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go try some of these out here. All right, we're going to work on problems. We worked on 1 through 6 so far. So we're going to do 7, 8, and 9. All right. So work on problems 7, 8, and 9. And if you haven't finished 1 through 6, you need to do that as well. Okay, 7, 8, and 9. 7 and 8 are about fences and will look a whole lot like this. All right, good job, everyone. Work hard, keep at it, and bring back your questions tomorrow. Thanks a lot.